Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. Now we have, I think it's time to start now. All the panelists have joined. And on behalf of the Institute of Quality and Productivity Management, I warmly welcome all of you for this webinar, which is very timely and also which is really required for our industry in Sri Lanka at this moment. The name of the session we are going to conduct today is how to be successful in our industry with the current economic crisis. And we have a very prominent speaker and also a panel of speakers also. And I think before I introduce them, I'll just mention you about something about our institution. This is Institute of Quality and Productivity Management. It was started about, nearly about 6 years back. In 1976, it was started as the Society of Quality Control. We are one of the founder members of OPA, Organizational Professional Associations. So at that time, the concept of quality was quality controlling, and it further developed or evolved, like quality assurance and zero defects, all these things, and now mostly working on the productivity aspect of everything. So about another 10 years ago, we changed the name of the Society of Quality Controllers to Institute of Quality and Productivity Management. So this is what is now. We have members from all areas. I mean, it's not only the industries, but we have various other institutions, officers, and we always conduct programs like this. And for this year, this is the fourth of our series of seminars. We have been conducting various other seminars, and now we are planning to conduct a program on quality management certificate programs, which is going to support anyone in the quality, in not only the quality field, and we call it productivity improvement field, where the quality is most important, where the zero defect is most important. So we have our website, www.iqpm.org. All our details are there. We warmly will invite all of you to join us and share all your views with us, and also with the upcoming webinars and programs. And our next, actually, we have already planned to start Lean Six Sigma certification programs in near future with our institute. We are launching our institute very soon. So these are something I just want to share with you about our institution. So without taking much time, I will just introduce the moderator, who is our secretary, because she will introduce the prominent speakers. Dr. Nirmal Silva as the speaker, Professor Samarakon, Professor S.P. Samarakon, and Professor Pradeep Kumar as the panelist. So Nishadi is, of course, our secretary of the association, and also she is working for the Institute of Sri Lanka Architects, manager and professional involved. And also she has a degree in special Uvavellas and masters in Yardhanapura, and also MSc in Peradeniya. So she is very much capable of moderating this session. So I hand over, while thanking again for you to, for you all to join in, with these busy schedules. I know it's a working day, but again, we thought this is something required for and put the details in the chat box. We will monitor and we'll give you a time to ask those questions or share with others also your views. So over to you, Nishadi. You can introduce the speakers and also start the session. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ms. Vincent. Now I will introduce our resource persons for the day. The speaker of the webinar is Dr. Nirmal Silva. He is a multi-award winning business professional, entrepreneur, and a corporate trainer with close to 2 decades of C-level experience across the world, where he has provided leadership to several multinational and Fortune 500 companies. Dr. De Silva is currently serving as the co-founder of Paramount Realty and the founder of China Consulting. He was also an independent non-executive director at the Regional Development Bank. In addition, Dr. De Silva serves on the board of several companies in the state and private sector in diverse industries such as agriculture, food and beverage, technology, education, learning and development, etc. On an academic front, Dr. De Silva is an associate professor, visiting lecturer and a thesis supervisor for undergraduate and postgraduate level programs in several local and international universities. Referring to our panelist, Professor S.P. Samarapal, Professor has completed his bachelor's degree specialized in botany from the University of Peradeniya, and then he has completed his master's in pasture science from Australia. Then he has obtained his PhD in plant ecology from University of Ruhuna. He is the former senior professor of botany, dean of the Faculty of Science, University of Ruhuna, dean of the Faculty of Applied Sciences, Sabaragam University, head of the Department of Botany, University of Ruhuna. He served as a consultant to the Department of Wildlife Conservation, consultant to the Sri Lanka Tourism Board, and director of the Bandaranaike Memorial Ayurvedic Research Institute. He has published over 60 research papers and written about 12 books. Our next panelist is Professor Turney Pradeep Kumar. Professor Turney has obtained his first degree from University of Ruhuna and has completed his PhD in coral ecology from University of Kalmar, Sweden. He was the former head of the Department of Oceanography and Marine Geology and the former general manager of Marine Environmental Protection Authority. He has already published 80 international and local abstracts, 28 peer-reviewed research publications with a contribution to more than 4 books and 12 book chapters. At present, he serves as a professor in oceanography to the Department of Oceanography and Marine Geology, University of Ruhuna, and serves as a visiting lecturer for University of Peradeniya, Colombo, Mortua, Kalniya, Rajarata Postgraduate Institute of Science, Ocean University, National Institute of Occupational Safety and Health, and University of Nha Trang, Vietnam. So now I will invite our speaker, Dr. Nirmal De Silva, for his presentation. Thank you.
I want to all of you all. It's a great pleasure to be with you all today morning, and I thank the IQPM for the kind invitation extended to me today. So I think when you look at today's topic, it's not only timely, but it's also quite relevant to us as professionals on how we deal with it in a short to medium term, and then thereafter from a long-term perspective as well. So I thought of starting today in a manner to first understand where we are. It is absolutely essential to understand the current scenario and grasp it to the best of our ability. Sadly, with the influx of social media and even traditional media narrating this in different ways, sometimes there can be confusion to what the actual scenario is. So what do we really know? Where are we at the moment? So we all know for a fact that we have a huge liquidity issue in the country at the moment. Put it simply, we do not have foreign currency or US dollars to even import some of the essentials. Then we also understand that whilst there has been some type of progress happening in the political front, we are far away from political stability within the country. And whenever there is political instability, it erodes investor confidence, and even various international entities like the IMF, the World Bank, and the Asian Development Bank also will be quite skeptical in terms of looking at Sri Lanka as a destination and its growth narrative if they feel that there is not enough political stability or strong political stability. The third thing that we know from today's perspective is that due to various shortages of products and services, even the exporters, currently our exports contribute around 12.5 billion US dollars, whilst our imports contribute around $22 billion. So we still have a trade deficit of around 10 billion. But even in order to maintain this 12 billion dollars of export earnings, most of the exporters are really challenged with relevance to being able to procure their raw materials, etc., due to either restrictions or due to dollar shortages. And as a result of that, the SME sector or the related party value chain within those organizations are also going to be deeply impacted. The fourth element that we already know and we need to brace ourselves is the fact that if things do not progress positively over the next few months, there's a high likelihood of food security related issues, right? And that's where we would be really impacted. Partly it's contributed by some very short-sighted decisions made over the last 12 to 18 months, and also partly because of the global economic conditions and the pandemic-related supply chain-related issues as well. So food security is going to be a huge problem, and that's something that we need to be aware of, both as professionals, as country, so that we can come up with some type of solid strategies in order to mitigate the impact. Last but not the least, we also need to understand that there is a global problem. There is a global economic challenge. For the first time in Singapore, a liter of petrol rose to $4, first time ever in their history. We see inflation soaring in countries across the world, inclusive but not limited to countries like Australia as well. And on top of that, the Russian-Ukraine related problem will also see a huge toll in the global economy over the next few months. So, and even if you look at countries like India, India is also facing huge inflation and their currency is also depreciating. So it is a global problem as well. Whilst what we are facing in Sri Lanka at the moment significantly can be contributed to our own internal issues and challenges. Nevertheless, we are also going to be impacted from the global phenomena. Now, it is absolutely essential to understand the current situation where we are. So, no matter how people try to define this, we are quite reasonably sure that over the next 6 months, things are only going to get tougher. It's not going to improve, and we need to start expecting that. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that we lose hope and we feel that the whole world is coming crashing on us. We need to understand the situation and find strategies in order to overcome this. We need to find strategies as individuals. We need to find strategies as organizational owners or key members within organizations. And then we need to eventually find solutions as a country as well, collectively as a country as well. So that's where we are at the moment. Now let's look at what is the short term and medium term impact as a result of these 5 elements that I talked about. So the short term impact would be definitely we would have a prolonged shortage of essential items, whether it's fuel, whether it's gas, whether it's electricity. In my humble opinion, I think the power cuts will have to continue. At which shape and form it would be will all depend on hydro power generation. It would depend on our procurement capability of fuel. And it also depends on how productive our refineries will be operating. Also, there's a huge likelihood that uh, certain essential medicines and so forth will have a shortage. So would be imported items and food related items. Now, why is that impact going to affect us? Is because irrespective of your industry, whether it's export oriented industry, import oriented industry, value added services industry, all of those industries are going to get impacted because your costs are going to go up. You will find it difficult to transfer all those costs to your customers because the share of wallet of the customers are also going to shrink. There might be unemployment also going up in certain industries like the construction industry, because as we all know, the construction industry costs have just gone off the roof. I think over the last 3 to 4 months alone, it's almost gone up by double. So it's extremely difficult for developers and construction companies to operate in the industry. The hospitality industry, the tourism industry also, because of the current country situation and what is being positioned at a global level from the various news outlets, uh, it's reasonable to assume that we won't have an influx of tourists to the level that we anticipated in the second half of last year. Again, that industry also is going to struggle, and because majority of them are on the moratorium, their cash flows are going to be impacted as well. So that is one definite short-term impact. So if you are within that industry, or if you're a professional supporting that industry, definitely it's going to be a struggle over the next few months until we get certain things into perspective. Number two, what is the impact in terms of our life, our lifestyle? I think we need to definitely be able to adjust ourselves and adapt to the situation. So in terms of consumption patterns will have to be re-looked into, whether it is in food and beverage, whether it's in clothing, whether it's in our housing needs. Irrespective of whatever the situation may be, we will need to realign and readjust our lifestyle. Also, we know that the cost of borrowing has now gone up with the interest rates going up. It's almost double digit now, starting from around 19 to 20%. So if you were running your business on debt, or there was a significant contribution on debt, definitely your costs will go up as a result of the high interest costs. And it's also extremely tough because if you have to run a business with a 20% interest rate, your margins need to be that much greater for you to be able to bring about a decent return. On the medium term, we would see, because of the sluggish economy, the investor sentiment also somewhat reducing. And then in terms of foreign direct investment having some type of a sluggish outcome. As a result of that, what would be the impact on the economy can be twofold. One is because of the lack of FDI, certain projects, strategic projects may get delayed. And on the other hand, certain local companies who are looking at joint ventures and strategic partnerships may have to wait a longer time to ensure that we have this right investor sentiment. Corporate earnings are also likely to drop in the medium term. We saw on 31st March most of the public quoted companies coming up with decent results, but you would see the real impact coming in the next 2 quarters, and corporate earnings may significantly drop. And what is the impact of that? When corporate earnings drop, there are investments in people, their bonuses, incentive schemes, etc., might have to curtail, which will also impact potentially your individual earning power. Now, in the long term, if we move on that, my humble opinion is that this storm is not going to be perpetual. In the longer term, once we get the macroeconomic fundamentals in place, political stability is going to be absolutely crucial. The sooner we get it, we are in a better platform in order to bring in these reforms. And what I mean by reforms is structural reforms. We need to move away from a plaster approach to a wound, where we just treat the symptom, to actually treating the real problem. And for far too long, we have been doing that for political popularity, and also due to myopic thinking by the decision makers and the policy makers. So structural reforms will need to come. We saw last week reluctantly the government having to introduce the tax regime, because as you know, our revenue collection has been abysmal last year, once again due to poor policy decisions. And this will again hurt both the individual level and at a corporate level. But it's absolutely essential because we need to definitely widen the tax revenue net, and all of us have a responsibility in terms of meeting that as well. Now, the clear emphasis there is not just the revenue, but we also need to ensure that public sector expenditure is properly managed. It's no point collecting revenue if that revenue is going back into corrupt business practices or in terms of poor decision making and also for inefficient use of resources. And I think the Institute of Productivity and Quality Management is in a great platform to really support this drive, because quality and productivity are two things that should be non-negotiable at a corporate level, department level, and at a national level, and at a state-owned enterprise level. Because if the quality does not improve, if our productivity levels don't improve, we are definitely not be able to compete at a global level. And in terms of that subject area, another thing that we need to really focus on is to ensure that we look at market opportunities in a different manner and adjust ourselves differently. Of course, in the next round in the panel discussion, I will talk about some of the opportunities that we may have as a country. But essentially, I believe in the long term, this particular storm will be overcome, provided that collectively we have a plan of action. Now, in terms of the next area that I wanted to discuss would be what would be the role of us as individuals or professionals, companies, and the country as a whole. I think it's essential that each and every one of us play a very active role. And for this, my terminology is 1 hour a day terminology or the concept, where if each one of us as a professional, as an industry association, as a corporate, and role that we have is whenever the policymakers are ready, whenever the political dynamics are in place, we also need to ensure that we get in the right people to lead us is absolutely critical. There is no more time for us to start accepting mediocrity, because if we put in mediocre people, mediocre leaders, the result will be mediocre. So that's another role and a responsibility that we have as individuals. The third element that we have is to have a more positive mindset, because it's very easy psychologically for us to go down because of the current situation, because things are not working. It's absolutely critical, because the biggest strength that we have as a country, other than the beauty of this country and the natural positioning, is our people. It's the talent of our people, the capability and the resilience of our people. So we need to have definitely a positive mindset, and we have to work towards that. We need to move away from competing at a silo individual level and try to collaborate even with our competitors, because all of us are facing the difficulty, all of us are facing challenges. But collectively, if we can collaborate rather than trying to be selfish or myopic in our thinking, we have a better chance of coming up with creative solutions. And with creative solutions, is absolutely essential for us to think out of the box, think differently. That's a significant role that we need to play. I keep on telling organizations that we need to get each and every employee to think and act like an entrepreneur. In essence, to think and act like an entrepreneur within the organization, and to be solution oriented, as opposed to just looking at the problems and repeating what those problems are. We need each and every staff member in our organizations to start looking at solutions and to look at things differently, so that we can spot gaps in the market earlier and we can create a sustainable competitive advantage. So I think what I've tried to do over the last 10 to 15 minutes in essential was to identify first where we are and what is the impact of our current situation in the short, medium, and long term, and then identify what would be the role of all of us as individuals, as companies, and then as a national level, as a country, because we need to play a role, a significant role, in order to come out of this current predicament and the crisis that we are in. Of course, in the next few rounds, we'll look at some of the opportunities that we may have, but it's absolutely critical that in whatever we do, we are quality oriented and we are productive in what we do so that the real economic returns can be derived for the country.
Thank you very much, Dr. Nirmal, for that insightful for your talk. And next, we will move into the panel discussion. So prior to the panel discussion, I think Professor Turney is ready with a presentation to contribute for the same concept on his subject. So Professor Turney, this is for you.
Thank you, Nishadi, and thank you, IQPM, for inviting me. And actually, Dr. Nirmal put everything into a nice context. But from my part, since I'm a marine ecologist and I'm a scientist, I look the same from another angle. So my main idea is to what are the potential as an island nation we are having to harness this the marine resources at the same time to get rid of this the crisis we are facing as a country. So I'll share my screen if you allow me to. Yes. Right. I have a few slides, but this is the country we used to see from our childhood. But and we had also connections with India, but we always had terrestrial or land-based economies. We always focused on. But the actual countries like this should be like this Sri Lanka. This is the country that this margin is our outer boundary. So that comprises of land masses and again huge ocean areas where we always discuss that the ocean area is 8 times larger. So we have a huge potential to use this ocean area as a country to benefit from ocean resources especially. So that expands horizontally for 200 nautical miles from the coastline to deeper ocean, but it not only horizontally, but vertically. From top to bottom, it goes to 3,000 to 4,000 meters. Then we meet the real ocean flow. So in this water column also we have resources, especially fishery resources, and again on the bottom we have bottom resources. At the same time, sub bottom is below bottom. We have lots of gases and oil and gas and other mineral resources. So now we think about Sri Lanka is not a kind of a mere landmass, but we have to think about the landmass plus ocean water column, huge water column, and again ocean flow and oceans. Below the flow is called sub bottom. So all belongs to Sri Lanka. So from international treaties and international agreements, the resources in the ocean again is ours, and we have the right to exploit them. We have the right to conserve them, and we have the right to manage them properly. So as a country, we miss that at some point thinking about the ocean. But at the moment, we are trying to expanding the resources into more deeper ocean flows. You can see the expected ocean flow we are about to get in the future under marine boundary margin expansion project. So if we get this new area in the future, so that will be about 23 times larger ocean flow we'll be receiving from UN or from the international UN-based agencies. So are we really prepared for that? That's the issue. So therefore, I think as a country we have to think about that, especially at this moment. We have to keep our eyes open to look into the ocean-based resources, just to be have an ocean-based economy to prosper the country. Because at the moment, I will tell a bit later how restricted we are in regard to land-based resources. This is the area we are going to claim in the future, this large area I mentioned here. In that case, we will get more ocean flow areas that will comprise more gas, more oil, and more mineral resources. And that will be about 23 times larger ocean flow area we are about to receive. It's a huge area, and we have a huge potential for ocean-based economies, ocean-based resources, and ocean-based, the income for the country. So when we invest on ocean resources, I think we have to plan very carefully, because today we think and tomorrow we can't exploit them. Therefore, at least 10 years planning and 10 years investment is needed. So while we are looking at this crisis, I think for a long term, at least for the medium term, Sri Lanka should look into that, from that perspective to harness resources from ocean-based economies. I'll start from very coastal line. So we have lots of sand dunes. That is, we have lots of sand dunes means those are mineral resources. So at the moment, what we do is we extract minerals and export them in raw form. But when we do some value addition, so we can expand that income into 800 times. For the moment, we are not thinking about value addition, but just some research and some future plannings and some industries are needed. So value addition is a very good area we can definitely focus on, especially for our mineral resources. And again, our coastline ecosystems, starting from estuaries and lagoons, those are very high, have a very big potential for tourism. I'm not talking about the fisheries, because fisheries is already there, but tourism potential we are having. Are we really harness, or are we really taking benefits from tourism? Because I'll tell you about where we are from global perspective on tourism. And our beaches, very clean, very nice, very sun, sea, sand beaches, right? Very important for tourism, and we are having them. Are we really marketing them is the issue? Are we really touching the high-end tourism is the issue? And beyond that, some underwater resources like seagrasses and again coral reefs and the diversity there. So again, not only for tourism, not only for fisheries angle, but biotechnology, because some countries they harness, they extract chemicals, potential chemical compounds for, especially for pharmaceutical industries, especially in even India, they are very much mastering on this. But in Sri Lanka, we have just forgotten the potential of those biotechnology we can extract, we can gain from these coral reefs and other marine resources. Look at this jellyfish. The jellyfish is just a jellyfish for us, but they contain huge amount of chemicals that can be very much useful for especially heart diseases. And we can be a very top nation where we produce top class the medical products. If you really focusing on these resources in Sri Lankan waters. Not only that, bottom dwelling animals. This is not a flower. These are again animals, a kind of worm, right? But we can use them for tourism. At the same time, we can use them in this biotechnology and again pharmaceutical industries, because they contain huge amount of chemicals. And not only that, various colorful compounds. We can extract them and we can develop them into new products. Even our scientists, are we really looking into them is my question. And this sort of marine, and then the fisheries. We know that we have gone for some extent in fisheries resources, but still, I will tell a bit later, we have more untapped resources, and we are focusing on shoreline resources, but deeper oceans offshore, we have a very big potential to capitalize on. And the traditional knowledge, especially in the ocean perspective. This is still fishing. So this still fishing is available only in Sri Lanka. Again, even in Sri Lanka, is only in down south. How we manage this is a very good example for co-management. Other countries, they come here and they learn how they manage for sustainably, how they sustainably manage these fishery resources. It's a good example for co-management, but still we are totally ignoring our traditional knowledge, mainly based on ocean issues. But if we won't really harness these resources, I think we have to think about the existing traditional knowledge the fishermen and coastal people have on the marine environments. Not only that, then if you go to deeper areas, so deep water mountains, and again deep water, these are called hydrothermal vents. In this area, we can extract superheated water and lots of chemical like sulfur, even gold, you can extract from this area. So around Sri Lankan waters, I told you that we have a 3,000, 4,000 meters depth real coast, the ocean floor. But still, we don't have any idea about where we are or where they are, or how, and are we having them, or how much we extract. We don't have any research, we don't have any data. So we are still sitting on a very huge pressure, but still we are very much unknown about this and untapped fisheries resources around the country. So I think as a country, we have to think about this, because we have to plan for this. So everything comes in the one single capsule called blue economy. The blue economy, we are mainly focusing on in ocean, but in Sri Lanka, we are sitting on a blue economy. We are very much attached to that, but we have totally neglected and we have totally forgotten that. And oil and gas, and again minerals, I just told you about how to do, not to extract, just extract, but how to do a value addition. And therefore, from Sri Lankan perspective, I can generally mention that we know very little about the ocean. We know very little about the potential of ocean for our future prosperity. And therefore, I think Sri Lankans, we have to focus much on ocean, because everything is now, while everything is restricted on land-based resources, our opportunity is always there. Because why I'm saying that? Because our urban sprawling is very much fast, and our agricultural lands are very much, become restricted because there's no enough space to agriculture. And again, forest cover is again shrink, and usable water in Sri Lanka, because we talk about 104 rivers, but most of the rivers are polluted. So therefore, usable water is again in the future will be a big restriction from our side. And again, land availability for development, again for agriculture, again for water resources become restricted. Therefore, land-based resources will become a limiting factor in the future. But on the other hand, ocean-based resources will be kind of heaven for us to capitalize on. Therefore, from our side, ocean is the determining factor for us, from my understanding. While Nirmal mentioned that we have other businesses and others, we can easily invite them and ask them to invest in Sri Lanka. But at the same time, the ocean has a bigger opportunity than that, and it will, in the global context, even now, you can see ocean resources that contribute for 24 trillion US dollars. The Norwegian pension fund, that's about 893 US dollars billion, but ocean is 24 trillion. So since we are a coastal nation, we have the potential. So the thing is, at the moment, what I can see is that, are we really know about that? Are we really focused about that? As a country, as a coastal nation, as a country, we are very much centered in the Indian Ocean. Do we have a real vision to how to use ocean in a proper way is my question. So as a panelist, I think I talk about 5 minutes, but I have a few comments later. That's all from at the moment, but I'm very much prepared to give some more comments and ideas later. Nishadi, over to you.
Thank you very much, Professor, for that insightful talk. Actually, you spoke about untapped resources. You made us understand what, we have resources and we just neglect them. And the main reason is we don't have such knowledge. So what we focus mainly as a nation, we basically focus on the land resources and the available, the human resource and all, but the ocean resource, with a plenty of area than the land availability. So our ocean has been neglected. So this is the time actually we need to speak about that, we need to discuss about that, and we need to find ways on extracting the resources, extracting pigments, as you said, and minerals and everything. So this will be the way forward sometimes for Sri Lanka. This is one of the main areas that we need to touch in the future. So there's a question that has come from the audience for Professor Samarkon. So they are asking, what are your recommendations for the exporters?
Hello.
How to increase the export sector in the country? Like,
I can't hear you well. Hello.
Professor, can you elaborate us on how, what are your recommendations for the export-oriented industries?
Okay. Thank you very much for inviting me for this discussion. I would like to draw my attention, first of all, to the present crisis, which is actually can be seen from the people who are there at Goldface Greens right now. I thank them because they have triggered this particular situation, or they have exposed the real problem facing Sri Lanka right now. They are actually asking for a system change. What is this system change? First of all, we should try to understand what the system is. For example, if you take the elementary canal system, Ahar Marg Paddhati, there are several organs in our elementary canal system, starting from mouth, then go down to the stomach and various organs. These organs are working in unison. So there are rules and regulations which govern this particular system. So if this system to work properly, these rules must be followed. So in any organization, if you take a home, for example, home is a system. It must work very well. There are individuals and various things associated with the system of home. Then to work this home system properly, there are some rules and regulations. If these rules and regulations work well, only the home system works well. Like that, if you take the education system, it is a system. It has many things working together. Those things must work in unison. The government is also same. It's a system. Department is a system. So if you take these systems, as these gold-faced people are talking about, we need a change. Why they are calling for a change? Because these systems are not working properly. So that is the crux of the crisis in Sri Lanka. So all the systems, or rather most of the systems, are not working properly. So we need system change actually to each and every system in this country. For example, let us try to think who we are. When we say we must answer that question, who we are. In the ancient time, we were actually the Helayas. At that time, the Helayas means Yaksa, Naga, Deva, those three tribes together. So then what about present day modern Singhalayas, modern Helayas? Modern Helaya is actually the Sinhala people, the Tamil people, the Muslim people, all the different kinds of religions and everything together. They must get together like ancient Helayas. So modern Singhalaya means all of these different races and religions together. We must have. So that system must work. Then only a country like Sri Lanka can develop. Now, if you look at our society, what I see is it is somewhat, at least somewhat, similar to the porridge pot of the seven beggars, Andi Haddenage Kandaliya, where the Andi Haddenas, the 7 beggars, did not contribute to make the porridge. Ultimately, they had to drink only water instead of, porridge with, rice. So most of our systems in this country, if you take a department or school, most of these systems are not working properly. They are working like Andi Haddanage Kandaheli, something like that. So what we have to understand is that everybody must give their contribution, pay their contribution to the main work of the system. If you take a system, it has a main task, main work. That main work must be carried out or done by the contributors or the participants. So if they are not doing their business properly, that system will not work. So if you are going to change systems in this country scientifically, you have to find the ways and means to change the contributors or participants, or we have to find whether these people are doing their business, their work properly. If you take industry, for example, now we are talking about the industry in the presence of this present crisis. Then if you take a particular industry, it must work like a system. Not only the top body of the industry or factory, the other people also must work. So we have to find ways and means to find whether these contributors or participants are paying their duties to their industry or the factory. If they do so, the factories will work pretty well. Everywhere it is the same. Now throughout at least the last 50 years, when people are finding government jobs, actually what happened was that they were not jobs. They were looking for rakia. Rakia means you get protected. Rakia, the word rakia means you get the protection to live. In Western countries, in developed countries, it is not so. The people are given work to do. That is a job. In Sri Lanka, jobs are not given, the work is not given, but they are given rakia. So they take the rakia to protect them for raksha and araksha, rakshane. That is rakia. The job-based work. The work is not done because they are not given the job to do. They are not asked to do a job. The people are not asked to do a job. Even when I was at the university, I was not given any list of work to do. If it is the same in at least in many departments, many factories, their work is not, they are not given the job to do. They have given a rakia. So that is a main, problem in this country. So actually, when a person is given a job, he must be given a list of work to do, even in a factory, right? So that is one of the problems that I have experienced throughout my 40 or 45 years career. Then let us look at some more problems in this country. The human-elephant conflict. Now the governments are trying to solve this problem for nearly 25, 30 years. They are not solving. They can't do that because they are not, they cannot, they cannot understand the basics of this problem. Our basic problem, now if you, many people are trying to put blame to the present human community. We are bad. Our ancient people were good. Our ancient societies were good. This concept is entirely wrong. Even my childhood, about 45, 50 years ago also, we remember there were a lot of diseases in this country. The people were suffering. There was not enough food to eat actually. In 1950s, 1940s, 1960s. Now we are actually developed. We have a lot of things. Our people are greedy. We are eating a lot. Okay, more than what our parents or grandparents ate. Okay, so our lives are better actually. Right now there is a problem. Right now there is an economic problem. For that we have to find solutions. As Professor Turney said, our biggest resource at the moment is actually our ocean. We are not exploiting our ocean for our development, for our food. All these things, the main resource, we can use our ocean. So we have to build our, ships and other, things to make use of our ocean. That is number one. Producing food and all that in our country, agriculture, we have to develop more because we have to eat rice. So that we have to do. But, since we are very hungry, we are eating a lot, what we produce may not be sufficient in the next, 5 or 10 years or so. So producing rice is not really enough. That must be produced, but it is not enough. So we have to find more things by selling fish and other resources in the ocean, for example. So those are the things that I see. Couple of other, important things I would like to say is the milk production in this in Sri Lanka, and also meat production. These are also actually related to agriculture. So agricultural development is very important in this country, and education systems must be developed. Consider it as a system at the school. Our, making a good person is the principal objective of our education. So it is not being done. So why can't we use one of our major resources, which I would like to nominate Buddhism. Buddhism is one of our major resources to develop our society, and also other religions like Hinduism, then Catholicism. All these things, all these religions are trying to, are there to develop our people, develop their minds. So developing the mind is very important, because the today's world, and also in this our country, the people are agitated. Their blood is boiling. So we need some ways to cool these people down, so to extinguish their heat in their body. That is called nirvana. So nirvana is there in our religion. Our religion, Buddhism, the nirvana is there. So right now, the present situation, if you want to develop your industry, your factories, you must think to cool down your people, okay, calm down your people and ask them to think about the society, about the other people, about himself, rather than, hating people. In our society, there are two new things I would just want to tell you. One is that during the last, say, 20, 30 years, there are theories called conspiracy theories developing in our society. Conspiracy theories are very bad ones, as we can see from the Western countries, developed countries, United States and all that. They are talking about these conspiracy theories. For example, if you take I can take one example from our history, that is ඉස්සර කාලේ හොඳයි දැන් කාලේ නරකයි. That's a conspiracy theory. It is wrong. Okay, but it's a good thing to talk about. The people listen to that. Another conspiracy theory is that to make the Sinhala language the national language of this country within 24 hours. Very attractive, but it is just a conspiracy theory. Conspiracy theory means it is not true, it is not correct. That is the meaning of conspiracy. So when our politicians are talking, 90%, 70% of their talk is conspiracy theories. And people try to believe these theories. When they vote for these conspiracy theories, and they make blunders. Then there is another thing. Because of these conspiracy theories, people try to hate the other people. So when our people are talking, they many times they try to talk hate talks, hate speeches. In their talks, in their speeches, they always try to hate the other people. I hate you. Or otherwise, their mind is, saying, their heart is saying this, I hate these people. So we have to, take a U-turn about these things can be done only within the education system. So we have to change this, what is called the conspiracy theories, and also the hate theories, hate speeches. We have to understand this, and we have to find solutions to these problems. These are some of the problems we are facing in our country. If we are to develop this society, this country, we have to understand these basic principles, wrong things that we are believing and doing right now. Okay, I will explain some of the other things also in the latter part of this panel discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Professor, for explaining us on we need to change all these wrong things and what is the necessity of the spiritual stability to improve as a country with regards to economics and etc. So, and you addressed many points with regards to attitudinal changes, making a good person from schools. So that is the main problem that we have encountered in our country. Basically, this is with regards to corruption and irresponsibility with leaders and also with laymen, with all of us. I mean, the contribution of people for the national development is very less, and the attitudes are not there. I mean, not up to that level for value addition. They won't focus. So we need to change all these things, address all these things, and we need to build up our nation. So, Professor Turney, So you spoke many things about our potential resources, what we have with regards to the ocean perspective. So there's a question that are we ready, really, I mean, prepared for the extracting, I mean, for getting all these opportunities?
Yes, Nishadi, actually, at
Are
my
there
first,
any changes necessary? Have we done all these things?
yes, that's the issue. So at my first explanation, I mentioned that the potential we are having, but as a country, for the last couple of years times, we discuss about national physical planning. So in the physical planning is a department, they should plan all the physical resources. That physical resources means not only land based, even physical resources in the ocean also. So that's one place where we really went wrong regarding the national future planning. Because if you think about other countries like Sweden, New Zealand, or if not Australia, they have one program called marine spatial planning. How we plan or how we manage our marine space properly, with a bigger vision for their marine spatial planning. They are thinking about 2040, 2050. But in Sri Lanka, we don't have any idea about marine spatial planning or any idea about how we plan our huge ocean area around us, right? Therefore, we are still completely blind. That's why I told that National Physical Planning Department, they plan, they prepare plans for Trincomalee, they prepare plans for future Colombo, but still maybe very short term, maybe 10 years, 15 years, but still for ocean-based resources, still there's no such plan available. So that is the first place where we went wrong. So I think as a country, when we plan things, so if we think about to how to properly place Sri Lanka in the global context, we have to think about the Sri Lanka as not only as a land-based country, but it's a land and ocean-based country. So if I share some few slides again with you, Nishadi, I will start. Can you see my PowerPoint?
Yes, yes.
Okay, sure. So this is a road and belt initiative. So in this case, you can see Sri Lanka is very much centered. And again, our location in the Indian Ocean, we are at Northern Indian Ocean, and we are very much centered. And you can see we are connected to African, Middle East, or Indian, and again Southeast Asian. Very short distance. That connectivity matters even for Indian Ocean islands, right? We are very much located in a very centered place that provides us the connectivity benefit. Where we missed, look at this second point. Most connected countries are expected to increase their GDP growth from flows up to 40%. And the global connectedness index, these are the major countries: Germany, Hong Kong, USA, Singapore, and UK. But here we are very much connected, and we have very big potential for the connectivity. So, but still, are we really capitalized on that factor? Are we really getting much benefit to our GDP? Are we earning much from the connectivity factor, connectedness? No, because Singapore has taken the whole benefit. Because 1960s, 70s, the really I mean, ill practice, the way of thinking was really, nationalized. So in that case, we missed lots of opportunities, especially from the naval sector, the shipping sector. So therefore, the naval connectivity, this connectedness shifted from center to the east. Now in the Indian Ocean region, the Singapore play a very crucial role, right? And there, look at this oil transportation routes. One of the two major routes are just lying just beyond Dondra Point, about 7 nautical miles away from Colombo. Per day, about 350 to 356 ships pass up and down, connecting east and west, just off Colombo. So are we really focusing on this? They at least give some supplies, right? Crew changes, or maybe security, defense support. Are we really focusing on that? And again, this is the largest ship at the moment. So this ship contain about 24,000 larger containers, the one ship. So this ship even called Colombo. So these ships move up and down just off Colombo. So, maybe a few months ago, Suez Canal was blocked by one ship because the ship, turned and blocked the Suez Canal. How much these shippers had to pay to that country? The shipping hours is so huge, billions of dollars. But in our case, we have that potential to earn money by supporting, giving services to these ships. But unfortunately, we are not focusing much on that. Normally, normal South Asian ports are operated at 50 to 70% efficiency. Why can't we go for at least 90%? Why can't we go for at 80%? Because Colombo is well known for port in this area for better service, but still our efficiency is very much low. By increasing efficiency, we can earn. Earn means not rupees, we earn in dollars. So these are the area where we can easily touch up on, we can tap those foreign, reserves. And therefore, shipping sector is one of the biggest, area we have to focus on. And even for the data connectivity, we are very much connected, right? These are underwater data cables. We are Sri Lanka, that's through Sri Lanka to connecting east and west. Again, from data transferring, we are very much connected. So look at Colombo in whole Indian Ocean context. This is Malacca Strait. This is Singapore. So all the ships passing Colombo go along Malacca Strait and go to Pacific Ocean. Now, China is proposing a canal here that is called Kra Canal, right? So if the Kra Canal become a reality, the Singapore will be off the grid, off the line, because the ships will pass from East Kra Canal to the Indian Ocean. So in that case, the shipping route will be somewhere from here. So if that becomes a possibility, Singapore will be a bit not cornered, but bit slightly cornered. But Colombo, Sri Lanka will be the main focal point for that. In that case, we have a old city and we have a new South Harbor, and that we have a big port city project. So port cities has become reality now. I am not going to paint it with vibrant colors, but it's already there. So as a country, are we prepared at least to train our manpower to take future jobs, at least those opportunities here, right? As accountants, maybe as architects, as bankers, as insurers, even in ship logistic managers here, this big city, right? Are we prepared? Are we train our manpower? Because we can do that in one or 2 days time, right? And look at this old port and the South Harbor, how bigger this South Harbor is. Look at this, the old port and the South Harbor. You can see West Terminal, East Terminal. So lots of new terminals, right? This is an old harbor. And not only that, this a new North Port is proposed now for Colombo. So this is the Kalani estuary here, right? So which the North Port come, this is old harbor, this is a South Harbor expansion, this is a North Port here. It's a big port, big development, huge development is coming, is proposed for the country. But to make this a reality, I think the people working on this, the whole project should be more patriotic, maybe more transparent. At the same time, our even universities, we should focus producing graduates to take on the possible jobs here, because in most of the places, highly paid jobs are taken by foreigners in the country. Even you check the hotel industry, even shipping sector, top level jobs, they earn several thousand dollars per month are taken by foreigners. Therefore, as a country, are we really prepared to take these opportunities, not only for foreigners, not for foreigners, but for Sri Lankans, right? And this is Hambantota again. Hambantota Harbour is has 3 levels: level 1, level 2, level 3. But these are level 2, 3 levels. But only level 1 is operating, but level 2 is, I think, almost done, I think, by now. Therefore, Hambantota is going to be a bigger harbour in the future. But with the Kra Canal issue, this Hambantota and Colombo will be the major hub here. But now by this time we have already given Hambantota Harbour to another country. So is this the way we think? If we really want to plan our future, benefit Sri Lankans, not others, but benefit Sri Lankans, benefit our poor generations, right? But another new city coming in Colombo is this called Colombo Maritime City from Goldface Gate Vellavatta. And look at this situation in Indian Ocean, the Trincomalee Harbor, right? So for the moment, Trincomalee Harbor contains large number of bays, deep lagoons, and it contains lots of islands, and it contains Tokyo cement factories, fishery harbors, jetties, Indian oil companies, airports, navy dockyards, fuel storage tanks, everything is there. This this location and this topography, the way it's formed, is a very big potential for future tourism. On the other hand, Trincomalee is the only place you can see, only place in the world where you can see from the land side the largest land animal, on the ocean side the largest ocean animal, blue whale and elephant. So why can't we publish that? Why can't we use those? For example, if you go for a country like Singapore for a tourism, so you will be welcome early in the morning, and you will be given a long lecture about the animal, and you will be picked up by a car, and on the way you will be given lectures about this animal, and at the end you will be showing a small lizard kind of animal, right? That's how they market it. Even South Africa, right? Even like countries like New Zealand, Finland, go there, right? But we have very large charismatic animals to be shown and earn attract tourists. So are we really capitalizing on them? And Trincomalee is a very nice clear base and lagoons are there. So underwater, underwater hotels, underwater restaurants, that is, you can still available them in Maldives. But when we try to establish those in Sri Lanka, our environment is become, start shouting, say that we are going to destroy whole our environments. Should it be the way we have to think, right? Because are we going to protect everything 100% and keep people poor, or are we really manage them properly and give the prosperity to our poor communities? That's the thing we have to think about. And deep water tourism, deep water diving, right? Because at the moment it's well known that we know about Mars and Moon more than our deep ocean. Deep ocean is not known to all humankind, but we know more about our Moon and Mars. But deep ocean is a place where we can explore. Because I'm saying that because now we have space tourism, right? People go to space for tourism, but some countries, they have developed these sort of extreme tourism like yachting, super yachts, and again extreme water sports, and again deep water tourism, right? For example, one visit to Titanic ship will cost about 90,000 pounds, right? So you saw earlier that we are having 33,000 meters deep canyons. So I can't, we invite investors to come and invest on our deep water canyons, start deep water, those sort of, various super luxury yachts and extreme water sports in Sri Lanka. We have the potential, but we are not using it at the maximum and larger, these cruise ships. And this is for tourism potential, right? It contributes 9% globally. But this is tourism, you can see, is always expanding. Most of it, about 2 million tourists come to Asia, Africa, and Middle East. But look at this about, right? About 200 million, but about 1,000 million goes to Europe and Americas. Are we taking tourists in that extent? These are the largest tourist destination. France take about 89 million, Spain 82 million. Where are we, right? We are still at 2 million, right? We are serving for 2 million tourists, and we are always saying that we are here. Sri Lanka is a very big tourist destination. Tourists are coming freely, but no, they market properly. But we have lots of resources, but we are not marketing properly, right? That is why we always focus. We have to think about blue economy for the country. Blue economy is a theory where we can extract food, energy, transportation, minerals, and again water, leisure, and everything from the ocean. So since we have lots of restriction from the land, we can go for the tourism sector. And at this special crisis situation, we know we need quick, money, foreign currencies. Tourism is the most easiest and short-term potential. Others, shipping sectors, others will take medium and long term. But tourism has a very big potential to, give find some solution for the existing crisis. But within next 2 decades, from by 2050, the world population will be 9 billion people. It means at present is about 7.9 billion. Almost 2 billion will be added. It means we have to increase our food production by 60% within next 30 to 20 to 30 years, almost 30 years time. So where are we? Are we really prepared? So if you are not prepared for that, our poverty level, our food security will be in big jeopardy in the future. Not future means within few years time period, right? That is why I am saying that there are lots of questions we have to answer, but as a country, Sri Lanka, we are very much from our location, from the resources available, we are very much placed to harness these resources, but we are not prepared. We have gone wrong in number of places, right? Therefore, as a country, I think when we plan things from at least from here onwards, as other two speakers mentioned, we had to put take the resource based or resource oriented or technical people to the relevant places, and then take their maximum benefit and plan properly, because we had to plan ocean also, right? And then we can think about short term, medium term, and long term. What we can gain within short term, what we can gain within medium term, what we can gain within long term, right? We have to think about. Then the last one I want to mention about ocean renewable energy. Now we talk about our oil and gas, right? But the issue is that in the oil and gas sector, we take more time. We found oil and gas maybe in 60s. We've been discussing about oil and gas even in 60s, but still now we are not extracting them, right? More we delaying it means others will capitalize. We have to spend more money for in our energy sector. But from ocean sector, right, we can extract energy from while we extracting fresh water from the seawater, and we can use wave energy, we can use wind energy, we can use tidal energy, and the newest is latest is OTEC energy. It means on the surface is very much heated, ocean flow is very much colder. There's a temperature gradient there. Trinco is a very good base for that, because Trinco surface water is about 29 degrees, bottom water is about 10-15 degrees, a very good temperature gradient. We can extract energy, so we can invest them, right? Even for wind, we have to think a lot. Wave energy, wind farming. So are we really focusing on that? That is my issue, right? Therefore, I think as a country, if you want to really become prosper, even if you really want to become come out from this crisis, I think we have to be very strategic. We have to think wisely. We should know subjects. We should know the real ground where we are sitting on. We should know the resources we are available. The last point, job opportunities, right? We send our women to Middle East as housewives, but in ocean sector, right? Ship captains, first officer, engineers, even chef, even environmentalists working in the ship designing, ship architects, ship insurers, and ship logistic managers, radar scientists. All the the job opportunities we can see here are available in the ocean-based sectors, right? But they earn in dollars, not few dollars, but $1,000. Countries like Philippines, they have schools to train their kids or younger generations to become mariners. But in Sri Lanka, we have few schools, but they are very, very expensive. They are private schools. But in national education setup, I will really train mariners for that with the free education or whatever concession rates, because we can earn a lot, because we are very much centered there. So those issues are there. Therefore, I really want to tell you that we are sitting on a gold mine, but most of we are not known that we are sitting on a gold mine. That is why we are not, and on the other hand, we don't have any plan for that. Future vision is not there. We are always planning for shorter terms. Therefore, we are really going wrong, and we are touching in the dark. Therefore, if you want to come up out of this situation, we have to be wise and think forward. Not forward means 5-10 years, but at least 2 to 3 decades ahead. That's from me, Nishadi and Dr. Nirmal and Professor Samarkon, one of my teachers. And I am prepared to give some answers if there are some questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor Terry. So you said that we are sitting on a gold mine, but just touching the dark. So that's really true. But this is the right time for the right people to come out and say all these things. So that was the main reason that all the policymakers, decision makers, the recommenders, what I feel is they did not have the right knowledge. So that is the main reason behind this. Right people will not be in the right place. So, and Dr. Nirmal, now actually we were impressed on the resources what we have. So we have resources and also we have skillful labor and we have a very good university scheme to train our employees, the future employees, the human resources. So linking all this, what are your recommendations for the policymakers? What we should plan for our future, having all these sort of resources? What should we do?
I think, Nishadi, first and foremost, we need to have a national policy and a framework in place. And this is something that has to be consistent, long-term oriented, and should not change when political parties or leadership change. It is absolutely critical that we have a policy framework in place. Secondly, we need to improve on our innovation and competitiveness index. Whilst we have all the talent, we need to be able to compete at a global level. And one of the ways we can do that is through innovation. And we see that certain industries like the technology industry is definitely able to compete and if not win orders and contracts amid some of the larger players in the world. Now, how do we become more competitive? Is that we move away from a knowledge-oriented, exam-oriented education framework to a more skill-oriented framework where there is continuous development of the student and also whoever is participating in that, and also to ensure that we collaborate. Now, if you look at India, for example, one of the reasons for their success in industrialization over the last decade has been their joint venture approach with larger players like Apple, Jaguar, etc., who are coming and set up their organizations in India. It's not just the tax benefit or the incentive, but it is a technology transfer, the best practices. And as a result of that, India has now been able to gain recognition globally as a destination for manufacturing, right? A destination for joint venture. So that's one scenario. Secondly, I think we need to relook at our curricula in a manner in terms of schools and university systems. As I talked before about the skill development, I think we need to encourage more and more entrepreneurial thinking, in my opinion. I think we need to move away from creating functional experts to creating problem solvers and creative thinkers. In fact, if you look at the World Economic Forum as well, problem solving skills and creative thinking and critical analysis is almost every year in the list of top 10 skills that will be required by that time. So I think we need to start moving towards that. I think we have a very, very strong youth in this country. And we see that over the last few months alone, the power and the capability of the youth. I think what is lacking at the moment is giving them a platform to grow and also opportunities to excel at a global level. So we need to have certain policies for that. We need to encourage entrepreneurship at every Grama Niladhari level. We have almost about 350 Grama Niladhari divisions in this country. And if we are to bring in grassroots entrepreneurship, grassroots thinking, we need to have the support mechanisms, the incubators, the knowledge centers, and the advice-oriented framework in place at each level. So I think if we can get these things sorted out alongside political stability as well, definitely we can get the best out of the resources that we have in this country.
Samadhi, your mic is muted.
Yeah, sorry.
Please tell.
Professor Samrakon, can you also elaborate on us on this, how the policymakers can do right negotiations? Like in most of the investments which come to Sri Lanka, they won't trickle down to the bottom layers. So that is the main problem. And also when we speak about our graduates and our skilled, our professionals, actually, they can't go for the right. I mean, for example, for Port City, so we don't have such negotiations for our employees to go there and work there to get that right exposure, and even for students to get trained. So, what is your recommendation for our policymakers on these aspects?
Okay, thanks, Isadi. To the policymakers, okay. My advice or my suggestion rather to the policymakers at this very serious, point of our history is to appoint the correct people, good people, knowledgeable people, suitable leaders to the positions. They will look after the areas given to them. For example, as the principal of a school, you try to find a person who is able to do that, not a corrupt person, not an uneducated person. So you need the education and good will also of such a person. If you take the leadership, for example, in a factory, we can say the leadership is the most important in a factory or whatever organization, whatever system. Leadership is the most important point. So leader should be able to run his institution, his factory, his department in a proper way. If the leader is going to complain it to the others, my workers are not doing their work well or whatever, if the leader is going to complain, nothing will happen. Leaders should always be able to absorb all the problems, all the negative things to his mind and heart. He should be able to do whatever needs by the department or organization. That is leader. It is the business of the leader, or even principal of a school, or chairman of organization or whatever. Leader is such that if the leader is going to complain, he or she is not a leader. That is my experience. So under whatever difficulties, leader must work. And there, by doing so only, the others also will work. Leader must not, confined to the, 5 hours, 6 hours work or something. In many institutions, we have seen that, we know that the leader is coming at about, 10:30, 11 in the morning. Then,
Hello.
whenever he wishes, he go home, he goes home, or whatever, that is the way in our, country. It should not be the way. The leader must come to the institution first, and he should leave the institution last. The factory, he should come first, leave last, like that. Leader is a person working that way. That is my advice to our, top people in our government, policy makers.
Thank you very much, Professor. And Dr. Nirmal wants to leave for another meeting. So thank you very much for your contribution for this webinar. It went very well. It was very successful. And one of our IQPM members want to ask a question, Mr. Upali Gambukumar. So he'll ask the question from the panelists.
Thank you very much, Nishani. I think I have not seen you live because when you joined IQPM, I was in Australia and I'm still in Australia. And I am very happy. First, let me thank you all, the young members of IQPM. I am really, really happy to see my logo and IQPM name is, appearing like this. As I don't want to go into details, the history. Anyway, I will come to my question, not question, an idea. Actually, I don't know whether Dr. Nirmal is still there. And now he was talking about getting every employee support to improve quality and productivity. I think that's a good idea. This is the macro level of his micro ideas, right? Since I was in the industry for more than nearly 40 years, and I have been working with so many companies. In one company, we launched a thing called Hoshini country. Hoshini country. I don't know whether I am correct. That is a Japanese term, right? There, when the company is having problems in, say, whatever the things, then they launch this program to get everybody in the organization to achieve one goal, right? The goal is set by the organization, top management, and the other managers are being given to choose their own goals. For an example, I was in the quality management, so we took the goal of reducing the customer complaints and contribute to that top goal. This is a very successful one. I think I don't have enough time, and without getting ready to explain this concept, what I want to suggest is, as a practical thing, can't we, if Dr. Nirmal is listening to me, can't we launch or launch this project of Hoshin country in all over the country? So all the other small industries, they will prosper by adhering or launching something like ISO 9000 or 5 years. But this is really product oriented or productivity oriented program. I just want to know Dr. Nirmal's idea.
Yeah, so I tend to agree. I think we need to have a national vision. So irrespective of the concept, if I give a very simple example, if we make 2022 to 2030 Sri Lanka year of productivity and quality, which means that will be a national initiative. We can use various media, digital media, etc., to promote it. And we need to get the leaders of this country in each and every organization, department, government level to look at it and drive it. So it's basically a continuous improvement process that we need to look into to be world class. And irrespective of what the concept is and which we adopt, that's something that we can discuss. But I also firmly believe until we make this a national endeavor, until we get each and every employee, staff member, colleague to really hold on to this vision and commit to themselves, we will not be able to meet these global standards. But definitely, I think if we all put our minds together, that's definitely possible.
Yes, Doctor. Just to add something more, the Japanese, this is a Japanese concept. Actually, Japanese people were the people who introduced 5 A's and things, especially productivity and so many things, right? So I don't know whether the brainstorming session also a creation of these Japanese people. But anyway, the brainstorming session, the people are people's ideas are collected. But in this Hoshin country, not only the ideas, they will be given the chance to develop whatever the things they have. This is the beauty of it. Tell the audience, the company where I worked was a multinational company, and they had 83 units all over the world. And I'm very happy to say we became the first about with this competition. About the competition was called Chairman's Award, and the what is behind was this the idea of Hoshin country, right? So my idea is if we can, like ISO 9000, 5000, that went all over the country. So Hoshin country can be, given to the industries, even in the private state sector. Individual institute will produce more good results, right? That will ultimately contribute to the national improvement, quality, and productivity. This is my idea. Thank you.
Very much. So we have come to the end of the session, the very successful webinar, what we organized as our second webinar for the year. So thank you very much, Dr. Nirmal, for your very enlightening presentation and the speech, and also Professor Samrakon for explaining about the requirement of spiritual stability and the requirement of good attitudes to develop a very good nation. And also for thank you very much, Professor Chani Pradeep Kumara, for explaining us, for giving us, for comprehending us on the potentials available for Sri Lankans. As it's not on, we were knowing about the fertile soil, but you explained us beyond that. So thank you very much for all these things. So we had a wonderful session. Thank you very much, everybody.